Hello, welcome back to another episode of What's on Your Mind. My name is Nimare Beu, or that African butterfly as I'm known on social media. I'm so excited. Each Thursday, I'm going to bring you great conversations about mental health and things that are impacting our mental health. Because just like we all have physical health, we all have mental health, and it's an important topic to talk about. I'm excited today. My guest is Oba Jackson. He is an artist and the owner of Push Tattoo Studios right here in Wilmington. And he was also a contestant on season 11th of the reality show Ink Masters. Thank you so much for joining me today, Oba.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Before we start asking questions, do you want to just tell everybody a little bit about you and your background?
Hi, I'm a tattoo artist and artist based in Wilmington, Delaware. I own a tattoo shop, Push Tattoo Studios. It's in downtown Wilmington, right off of Market. We are the only Black queer one in our state, Black queer owned one in our state, and I'm pretty sure maybe the only Black queer one too. So I'm really excited about that.
That is awesome. Yeah, I was so excited when I saw that you live here in Wilmington because that's where I am also, and his artwork is amazing. Now you do tattoos, but did you get into it doing art first? How did you transition over? Well, actually, how did you get into art to start?
So I am a third generation artist. My mother and grandmother are both artists before me. And in our family, they really don't teach you anything. They just give you the supplies and they say, go ahead and create because they don't want to influence you. Because, like, luckily they've been through that as artists and they never wanted to put that on me. So they're like, here, Oba, go do stuff, go make stuff, just go do stuff. So that's how I got started as an artist. My brother said I have been drawing since I was like 2 on our toilet paper in the bathroom, on the refrigerator. Like I drew everywhere. So I started out with that, and then I like slowly taught myself. When I was about, I think I was in 6th grade. My elementary school got me like a private art teacher that would come with me during the summertime. Her name was Phyllis Torres, and she taught me about techniques and things that I would not have had opportunities to learn being like a young poor like Black boy from the hood. Like I would have never had the opportunity. So the school getting her for me really taught me about what art was and how art can change your point of view in life. Art literally is like a good self-esteem thing to even just have. So my goal as an artist is to make sure that marginalized communities are getting access to art and understanding the value of imagery and art and just creating.
I think that that is so important. I love that your school connected you with someone to help flourish that. I am a huge believer and supporter of the arts. I love doing all things creative. Music was more my genre than the artist art. But I love all of it because I think that creative expression is really important just
It
to
really
get
is.
things out.
Yes. I could. Like. Luckily, I had the family that I had, so I couldn't say that enough. Like my mom literally was like, "Just go create stuff. Go create stuff." And I was lucky to have a mom who embraced my blackness so much and like would say things like, I prayed for a beautiful dark chocolate baby like you." Like those kind of things always made me appreciate what my community looked like and representing them and making sure that like my art featured Black and brown people in ways to be prideful about. Um, I know growing up, I barely ever seen any paintings that had Black people in them. And now that I'm almost 41 years old, I feel like I try to follow every Black artist I can find on Instagram because I just love to see how they capture our beauty and how we all capture our beauty in so many different ways.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what I really love about it is that you can really express yourself and then find people to connect with who express that as well.
Yes.
Now it's Black History Month, which I love. I love Black History Month.
They,
Um, and
they
your art, and your art is heavily influenced by African American culture. But when I was reading up on you a lot, you said that it was really largely influenced in that until your 20s, and then there was a little bit of a shift or change or an opening towards your art. What caused that?
um I started to know who I was. Like I feel like we have this idea of who we are. You know that famous thing that everybody say once they hit 18. I'm grown. I
Mhm.
didn't feel grown. I still don't feel grown. But as I got older and I learned myself a little bit more in my 20s, I was like, you know what? I was restricting my blackness to this particular group of things, and black is everything. So why don't I include it in everything? So I just had this idea, like, I guess because I grew up from someone who was very Afrocentric, that all of my things needed to be Afrocentric, even though that's not technically who I would think I am. and who I think I am. And as I got older, I realized like all these things cover the black, like the diaspora is amazing. There are so many things that we do. There are so many parts. Black people have had their hands in so much creation that why am I limiting mine to just this one idea of what blackness is, which is like African themes, stereotypical, big, all the things that we see, like all the stereotypes that we see. And then learning that there are so many more things that are besides that are beautiful from the African. It doesn't have to be only gold hoop. It doesn't have to be adornment all the time. It could just be the presentation of them. And I'm glad I like got a little older. I made my core friends who I still have to this day in my 20s, and they opened my eyes to so many more things too. So it was just like a coming to myself in my 20s, like learning me, knowing me. It's when I came out. So I think that is part of why I felt like I had like a big bloom in my 20s with art.
Now, how did you transition? So you have like that awakening, you're expanding your art, which I think is awesome. I know you mentioned that some of like your favorite artists are Salvador Dali and things like that, which is great because it's like a wide range of art. How did you transition from that to tattoos?
So it was interesting. So I worked for a company and I did their visuals. I did their like visual displays in their designer departments, and I worked for them for about 6 years. And during the time, I realized like, it's really interesting being a Black person working in a predominantly white, predominantly female industry like visuals. And I found myself having to put up with a lot of things that I just wasn't okay with putting up with. Like, I'm not going to put up with you crying over something not going your way. We're at work. I can't cry at work and get away with it. And as I got a little bit more into it, I was like, maybe I should actually just work for myself. My mentor had been asking me that I want to apprentice for like 8 years, and I had been saying no because I didn't know how I would fit into tattooing, being the man who I am. And I had a shitty day at work one day, and I was like, oh, nope, I'm gonna go learn how to tattoo because I can do this for myself, and no one can make me uncomfortable about it. But then also, the way that I teach myself art is I also know can't nobody hold me back from something that I deserve. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to do this. And then during my apprenticeship, I realized like I had watched a couple painters on YouTube and on different things. And I was like, oh my God, this is painting. This is painting. Yeah. And I was like, oh, he's a painter. Like that is what I do. So when I realized that how tattoo and painting intersected, I was like, oh, this is what I'll be doing because it's so similar to how I move my hands, how I view shine, how I view shadows. It really was like exactly the same. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And then I like did it.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that we are lucky that you decided to transition over. Like your work is impeccably beautiful. It's so gorgeous. Like it's amazing to me that that's on skin because it looks like it's on canvas. So you do a wonderful job.
That's what my goal is. And when I was younger, I thought I wanted to be a fashion designer because I wanted to see the things I created walking down the street, and I wanted to see people enjoying them. And now that I get to do it this way, I get to interact with the person walking down the street with my piece. It's not a shirt, it's not a jacket that I designed one time and that I've never seen again. It's something that I drew for this person, something that I spent time with this person doing, and something I made sure I put my 110% in for somebody because this was a service. So when I get to see them down the street and people's like, hey, Opa, you remember me? And they show me their arm. I'm like, do you remember me? But I love it. I love it.
I love that. Now, one thing about tattoos is that it takes some time to get them done. And I tend to think that there are like certain professions where you just like, you lay your heart out to those people, right? Like your tattoo person, your bartender, your barbershop, like those are just the people you talk to. Do you find that a lot with tattoos, and like people also use that time to almost have you as their own personal therapist or venting person?
That is like 98% of the time when I tattoo, I'm usually talking to somebody about something. I'm lucky to have done this job for the last 8 years though, because it actually taught me so many different point of views that I probably had not thought about before. And I don't know if this is what therapists go through when they train them, but just relating to people in so many ways, like people think that we have so many things driving us apart, like race and sexual orientation and all this dumb shit that we have in politics right now, when all of us actually have more things in common than we don't.
Yeah.
You may have three things different and you think they're the biggest issue, but in actuality, you have so many things in common with somebody else. And I like to think of that as like finding our commonality, because I don't believe in a lot of stuff that people come in here and talk about. I don't believe in a lot of things like for me personally, but I'm also not going to negate them because they're the things that you believe in. If I believe in something that is valuable to me, I understand that being valuable to you, and I would never cross that line. But it's one of the like I love this job so much because you do get to feel like this person got to relax. They got to relate. Like you putting them through pain, so they talking about you. They talking about trauma sometimes with you. But my biggest thing as a tattoo artist, and I would say this to anybody who works in any industry, and I know therapists probably don't have this rule in the same way that I say it, but when I interact with somebody like a mental health issue or anything like that, or just on any emotional level during a conversation, I care about them in the moment. I understand what they got going on. But when they walk out the door, I have to put their bags outside the door with them because I can't carry your emotions around with me all day either.
Yes.
Like the people who do this job, we don't always take our own mental health into consideration. Like other people's mental health can throw yours off whack all the time. And I have interacted, like I have worked with some people who have did some doozies. Like I worked with them for 2 years, and at the beginning of this year, I would never think at the end of this 2 years, this is something this person would even say or believe in. And damn, I lost my train of thought.
You're saying that you had been with someone and you worked with them for a while, and they would say something that
and like just like knowing how other people's mental health can affect you, you got to make sure you make a nice little barrier around yourself. So as I gotten older, I realized my barrier around myself is love, and the people that I keep around me are the people that I love the most. I don't have anybody around me who is on a different type of journey that I am, or in a different place in their journey. All of my friends are usually all of my friends are all different ages, and we are all at different places in our life, but we all mingle so well, and it makes sense because it may be an experience that one of us had and the other one didn't, or an experience that I have that I can give them to help. And I try to use that too with clients and everybody, but I make sure that Oba's mental health comes first.
Which is so important. I think that you mentioning that is great as far as like when they leave, you have to let them their baggage leave as well, because it's very easy to kind of hold on to all of that.
Yes.
And you mentioned, because I was going to ask how you transition past that, because I'm sure you have times where you have people who are very emotional. How do you deal with that when they bring in an especially emotional or especially like mental moment to you?
A lot of what I do is portraits, and I do a lot of like memorial portraits. So I've heard a lot of stories, but whenever people come in and they have lost someone, and especially if they recently lost somebody, lately I've been having a lot of people losing children, and I try to talk to them on a wavelength of like, we're not gonna remember the sadness or the sorrow that happened. We're gonna remember the life that they lived and the happy feeling that they gave you, because this sad moment is a little moment in time, but those happy moments could last you forever if you focus on that part of it instead of the sad part of it. And I lost my sister in 2015, and I thought I was going to be sad forever. I thought I was going to hold on to that hurt forever. But now that it's been like, even when it was like 5 years, I had processed it so much that I didn't remember her passing. I just remembered her. And I think that I try to talk to people on that wavelength of, we're not going to repeat about how they passed. We're going to repeat how they lived, how you love them, the memories you guys made together, just stuff like that. Like whenever people come to me and they're like, "Oh, I want a rose, a dove, and a clock for my grandma that passed away." I'm like, "So what did your grandma do though? Like, what was your grandma like?" Because I want to remember your grandma. I just don't want to remember a grandma from the internet. I want to remember yours. So I said that to a girl who wanted that idea, and she ended up getting a mixer, like the KitchenAid mixer.
Yeah.
She got that, and we did it like it was like a true traditional black and gray style. And she was like, "Oh, but I'm so glad I got this, because I literally look at this and remember making cookies with my grandma." I was like, "Yeah, we didn't put her death date on there because we don't want to remember that sad sorrow. We want to remember good." So I always just approach things at that standpoint for me, like happiness and memories, because this is what this tattoo is going to remind you of, and that's what I want. I don't want you to remember that they passed away. I want you to remember their life that they lived.
Yes, and that's so important. And I love that you personalize it like that, because there are those things that you think of that are traditional symbols, right? Like I know I want to get a semicolon, because that's since this is what's on your mind. So I live with depression and anxiety. And the semicolon, for those who don't know, is for suicide awareness. Like for those, it's a sign to just keep going, right? There's not a period at the end, it's a semicolon, you keep going. So I want to get one of those, but like you said, it's important to make it personal too. So I'm always looking at little designs and how to incorporate that. And I think that that's always great to make it something that's memorable to you when you see it.
Yeah, whenever people put in forms for things, and there's like a little part in our on my booking link where you can put a little description in there, talk about whatever you want to talk about. It doesn't have an end in there. It doesn't have an end in there. Sometimes people go on and on and on.
Just telling the whole story.
But I like to, like if people say to me, I'm trying to think how to incorporate this into something. I love that because I'm like, thank you, because that's what I do. Welcome to me doing my job. Yeah. I'll incorporate it for you and we'll figure it out from there. Because a lot of times people be like, what do you want? Come on, get this tattoo. I'm not going to have that conversation with you. I'm going to be like, so what do you need?
Yes.
What do you need? Because you want this. It could be horrible. So let's try to figure out something that means, that looks like you, something that feels like you, something that reminds you of when.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think that it just makes it more personal. Like when you look at it, even if it's something like little, having that thing that you see that brings back those memories for you.
Yes.
Now, we've mentioned that you're an awesome artist and a great tattoo artist as well. So it's no surprise that you made it onto Ink Masters, which is, for those who may not know, it's a series for tattoo artists. And you were on season 11.
Yes.
You were killing the game, but you had some stress and you actually had to walk away early, unfortunately.
Yeah. So when I went on there, that was my first time dealing with any real anxiety that was affected by my surroundings. So the doctor said it was like environmental stress. I had never lived somewhere else like that. I didn't pick to live in for 30 days with a room full of 21 guys in one room and like all of us just in one house all the time, so we couldn't leave. It was just something I didn't deal with. And me, I'm a person who like to take walks. I'll go draw and sit in the park. I'll literally just ride to the store just to grab one thing. The store could be fucking 12 miles away just so I can grab one thing, just so I can process and have a little alone time. And not having alone time for me did not work out for me well. And I grew up in a big household. Like we were the only ones of our family who lived in the suburbs. So all my cousins and everybody would always be at our house because we had like fields and stuff you could play in. But this was different because I couldn't get out of the environment. And then also somewhere that is not a traditionally Black space. Some spaces that are like just wasn't meant to cater to somebody who has the same background and everything that I have. It just wasn't a place that I was comfortable in. So it was really affecting me. But I had never had anything affect me like that. So it really threw me off for a while. Like every night I left the show, my husband was like, "You don't seem like yourself yet." I'm like, "I'm trying to get back," but I had never had something affect me physically and emotionally at the same time. But after that happened, I realized a lot of things that happen to you physically are from your emotional being and your emotional well-being. I was having like panic attacks and little things like that after the show, and I realized that it just was that my mental. I was putting too much on my plate and never emptying my plate. So I'm like, buffet style, just piling things on. But I was never taking anything off either.
And at this time, had you also, because I know, and again, I'm sorry for the loss of your sister. I know that you took over raising her daughter as well. Were you already raising her as well at this time?
Oh yeah. She had been with me since she was 16. So she was in when I was on Ink Master. She was in her third year of college, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a whole grown lady now. She's like 26. She's 26. She's 26.
Yeah. And you said that even after you came back, you noticed that it took a while. I think sometimes people think like, oh, I just get out of that environment and I'll be fine. But some of those things can be lasting and can take a while to get past them. What are some things that you did to try to help you get back to your sense of normal?
I had to learn to let go things. I don't have like I learned that I didn't have to put Oba into every single thing that I did. I was like booking myself. I was doing all the things. I was managing the shop myself while working at the shop while trying to figure this out. Things breaking at the shop. I'm working. It's this. Me and my husband took in a foster kid for a year, and like it was just a lot of things that happened afterward. And I just learned that I needed to take some things off my plate and also learn how to say no when it's affecting me emotionally. Because I literally would never turn down a responsibility like something if somebody asked me to do it and I was like I would be the best person to do it. I'm gonna do it, but it was for everybody and it was for all the time. And I was never like I was like, oh, hold on, let me hold your things over here. Let me hold my things over here, and it just got crazy. So I eventually learned to like put things down, back away.
Yes.
Sometimes giving somebody else a responsibility is okay.
Yes.
Sometimes not trying to be a super crazy, like I'm so visual that everything, like I have to have everything a certain way. And I've learned to let it go a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just put things down.
That is so important. For me, my word this year is boundaries, because I am terrible about them because I'm the same way. I just want to help everyone do everything. I realize that I'm not protecting myself. And what I've learned is that boundaries isn't necessarily about keeping other people's out. It's about being an advocate for yourself and what you need to be the best version of yourself.
That is absolutely true. And I try not to use the term boundaries for people because I feel like when people hear the word boundary, they think they can't go past that point. You can go past this point. You just got to know the right time to go past this point.
Yeah.
You got to pick the right time to go past this point. See if I'm okay with you coming past this point. Because sometimes you need somebody to break down your boundaries. Because I be trying it, and my friends be getting me right together. They be like, "Okay, bitch, let's be serious." And I be like, "Oh my god, am I being serious?"
Yeah.
You're being delusional. And I'm like, "Thank you for crossing that boundary of me telling you like this is how I feel about something." Because after we talked about it, that's actually not how I felt about it. This is not where my boundary is. I try to not use that term. I just try to think of it as like creating a little bit of space for myself and finding my center. Like I always say, I need to just find my center for a minute. I'll go upstairs. I'm like, all right, I need to draw something. Let me draw something and find this center because I feel like I'm going to go like this.
Yeah. You know, and that reminds me of something because because I recently started the entrepreneur journey. So I feel like I work. People think they want to get out of the 9 to 5 so they don't have to work so much, but it becomes your entire life.
It's like 24/7.
24/7.
It's a 24/7.
So I was going to ask you because one of the things for me is that I have found that sometimes the things that I would go to as sort of my decompression, my solace, have now turned into income or work for me. So then it's like, well, so when am I resting? So like when you describe I need to decompress, so I'm doing art, I'm like, but that's also your work. So how do you compartmentalize it and how you still keep it as a point of release for you and not a work thing for you?
So when it's a tattoo, I don't do commission paintings because I can't negotiate there. But I know I can negotiate in this space, which is a service for somebody. But the best part about it is when they come to you with an idea, they took 50% of what I needed to do off the plate. So like you said, semicolon, there we go. So now I just need to work around in this context of semicolon. But when it's for myself, it's so broad. That is what I like because I can pick from anywhere in that universe and it inspires me visually. That is for me. But when it's like I get a little context of thinking, that's perfect because that's work. I'm not going to think past this point. Once I apply the tattoo on you, I never have to think about it again. But I never had to come up with the original idea. Like so, sometimes people come in and they'll say, "Oh, I don't know what I want. What should I get?" And I go, "A black woman." Every single time will be my answer. And they'd be like, "Oh, I wasn't thinking that." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. So what was you thinking then?" Because that was my answer. I need your answer because when you give me this the universe, I'm gonna start with a black woman there, and then I'm gonna work my way out. So that's why I like that's how I separate the two things. For me, like my art for myself doesn't have any boundaries, and that's why I can have fun in it. My art for somebody else has boundaries, and that's how it's work.
And I love that you also, you mentioned that your husband has helped you as well after, like the competition and trying to get back to your sense of equilibrium. Do you find, or did you have any hesitation in being so honest about your religion, not your religion, your relationship. Because, I think also when people think of tattoos, they think of like, oh, the tattoo people. And then to say that you're also queer. And then also we know about homophobia in the Black community as well. So even if that was your target demographic, you have to worry about that. I'm sure all of those things were on your mind. Like, how did you make the decision to still go forth and be proud with who you are and let that be a leading point?
I love this question. So my thing about being honest with it is, if I can be honest with you, we don't need to be around each other. I don't need to be a part of your life, and you don't need to be a part of mine. But if anything that I do that you do have a problem with me, as far as things that I can't control, like me, my sexuality, my race, or anything like that, things I can't control, okay, you can control them. Go away from me.
Right.
Stay away from me, but don't peek through the window when you see what I can do.
Mm.
So you just stay over there, and then I'll stay over here, and I'll be really happy over here not knowing you. I always see things online, and I know you see them. We all see them. People posting about their haters and like posting little memes about haters. And I like to say to people, "Oh, I don't know them."
Right.
I hit you with a Mariah Carey real quick. I don't know her.
Who's that?
You know
Yeah.
why I don't know her? Because I'm not interested in somebody who does not want the best for me. Why would I care about what they have going on? Why would I care about anything that they continue? If you want a little bottle of hate to carry around all day, that's perfectly fine. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, you know what's up? Hey guys.
Yeah.
And if you don't like me because I'm gay, that's perfectly fine. If you still want a tattoo from me and you just don't agree with it, I'll still tattoo you. Just don't come in here telling me that you don't agree with it, because like I honestly don't care what you agree with. I don't want to sleep with you.
That's
So
right.
dealing with that, like it really was okay, because when you are Black and you are queer, oh my God, it is so easy for people to exit from your life just because of those things. Let them.
Mm.
It is a goal in life that I have, to run you away from me when something about me don't make you happy. Bye.
Right.
Be blessed. Go find people like you, and you be happy with them. Y'all could all be a little hater group and be mad all day. But I'm going to be over here finding people who love like I do, who are love languages, talk to each other. Like that's what I'm gonna do. So I didn't think anything of it. Whenever I go into a space, I don't subtract myself in any kind of way. My dad always taught me that you are only less than if you feel less than, and I have never felt that way. So when I go into a room, I'm like, oh, hey, we are all here. We are all on the same level. I don't think that you are better than me because you're white. I don't think that you are better than me because you learned from this tattoo person. I don't care that you worked at this shop with this person. What can you do on this skin? What can you do on this paper? And then we can rumble. Like, what you want to do? I'm okay with a battle. Like,
yeah,
I didn't have the resources you had, and I'll show you. So what we gonna do
now? Right. I love that. I feel like people, and I'm always on my soapbox about it, but I just feel like if people would spend more time worrying about themselves and who they are and their own happiness and attracting people who vibe with them instead of trying to force themselves to fit into what other people want, they'd be so much happier.
I'm going to act like this person, and then you act like this other person, and then you attract people that those people would attract, and then you find out that those people aren't like you wanted them to be, because y'all have different values. You just were pretending to have the same ones as them.
Yep. And I'm like, just be you. And sometimes it takes longer, but it's so much better. Like that. And the thing is, people know it. Like, when you're hanging out with somebody who you feel that peace with, right? Where you can be yourself. Me, I'm a nerd and I'm corny. So anyone I can be nerdy and corny with, who I don't feel like, oh my God, they think I'm such a loser. My favorite people, right? But it's so easy to be like, oh, I want to be so cool and sophisticated. But those environments don't make me feel super comfortable because I just want to say nerdy things. So like, it's just better to find your people.
Yeah, and I don't want to say something weird and somebody look at me like,
right.
Like me, I would literally go into like, me and my friends, we'll talk about random things. Like we'll talk about like jackets, and I'll be like, but you know what? I really don't know how I feel about the way that it feels. Like something about it reminds me of like cotton balls when you were in elementary school. Like the way I explain things to people, they be like, but why cotton balls from elementary school? Like, maybe that was the first time I touched one, and that's what I really feel like the texture was like. But that's how I describe things. So I always am around creative people who talk like me, but then also people who have the same beliefs as me. I was talking to somebody earlier this week about how I had a different friend group in my late teens, early 20s. And then my mid 20s is when I started to work in retail, and it opened my eyes to like so many different people over here that I had no idea had, like, were Black and lived in a completely different environment than I did, grew up super wealthy and was Black, and how me and that person are like best friends. Like, is when that happened to me, like when I grew up, I just learned that like this other set of groups, I felt like they were the people who were going to keep me in a cycle of poverty, who were going to keep me in a cycle of questioning myself, who were going to keep me in a cycle of just sameness and being in one place. When these other people are so different than I am. This person is an athlete and is one of my best friends. This person is a mom and is one of my best friends. And we all come together and we just vibe, and it's such a good feeling, especially for me, because like all of them are like my friends who I've mushed all together. So now they friends, and I'm like,
Yes.
I don't understand like why you would ever want to be around somebody who doesn't want you to feel good.
Yep, that part. And I think that once you start feeling good, you want it to keep going. Like once you realize how much of like stuff is your mind is in control of things, and how much, like you can be the leading thought of stuff, it makes you want to keep going. And then also find people like that, because people who don't get it will very easily try to stifle you, right? Like if they don't have that creativity, or if they don't have that open-mindedness, they want to shut it down because it seems so weird to them what you're saying or what you're talking about.
People do this thing, and I feel like it goes both ways with everybody. I'm sure you will understand what I'm saying. People have this way of thinking that they are the star of the, like thinking that they are the star of the show, or that somebody else thinks that they are no, that somebody else thinks that they are the star of the show. And they're like, oh, look at them. And people think this about me all the time, like, oh, Opa's this, Opa's that, Opa's this. None of these people who like actually know what I'm like, and the people who know me know that I have taken my shoes off in the street for people who didn't have shoes on. Because I'm 5 steps away from my house, I get another pair of shoes. This person is walking around out here with no shoes. But you don't know that about me because you want to only think one thing about me. But we are all the star of our own show. It is your responsibility to not act like a secondary character.
That part.
If you a secondary character in the Oba movie, that's, I mean, okay.
I always say that, like, because I'm big on this, like you are the main character of your life. Like your life is a movie and you're the main character, but you're not always the center of attention. And that's where people get it twisted, because the main character is not always the center of attention of every scene. And so you can still be the main character of your life and still not have it be all about you all the time, but it should still be about you and what makes you happy and what, nourishes you, not about making choices for other people.
Exactly. People think that they get to write other people's script, and I'm like, you can't. This person is this person, and when they leave this room with you, they're still that person. I talk to one of my friends all the time about like, I always talk to one of my friends about her own happiness, and I'm like, hey, you know who the only person who has to live with your happiness every single day, all the time, every day? She's like, who? I'm like, you. All day you are in here, you are trapped in this thing.
Yes.
If you are not making yourself happy and working on making yourself happy, why would it be anybody else's responsibility? They can't feel how bad you feel.
Yep.
They can't feel how bad you feel. Why would you make it their responsibility? No, I'm fine. I'm not fine.
Right. Or make decisions for other people when you're the ones who have to walk in those shoes. I'm lucky I learned that lesson young, realizing older now that how many people still don't understand that. Like they'll make decisions to make someone else happy, but that person is happy with your decisions for the 2 minutes you're in their presence. Now you have to live that life and they get to move on, and you're not happy because you didn't make the choice you wanted. So I am big on
make it make
honoring
sense.
Yourself. Yes.
Make it make sense. I think I lucked up learning that same thing young. Like trying to make friends and being a gay kid, like trying to build relationships and hoping that people are honest with you and being your actual friend and not saying one thing about you in your face and then another behind your back. As you get older and you start to realize, like, you know what? That person who says things about behind my back doesn't make me feel the greatest. I'm going to go over here and stay away from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I have that energy about everything.
Mm-hmm.
I have that energy about everything. I'll be like, oh, you're not happy here? Let me solve this problem for you.
Right.
Let me solve that problem for you. Go home.
I think that part of it too, maybe just that not feeling fully accepted when you're younger. So you have to find like a little bit of that happiness in yourself. And like you can either let it get it down, or you can figure out how to make it work for you in a way that keeps you happy and keeps you going. I know we both mentioned that like we kind of figured that out, that you have to like live for yourself when you're younger. And you mentioned part of it is because you were gay. And like, I know for me, I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. I was like the only black face all the time in all of my pictures growing up. Also the only chunky one. So I never really had the luxury of feeling like I fit in. But then I realized later, like that's all the things that were helpful for me. Because I think had I had that luxury, which a lot of people think think of as a luxury, to be able to fit in the blueprint that has been set forth as like, this is what you should do in life. But the problem is they fit it and they're comfortable in it. And then it's not till later when they open their eyes and they're like, oh, wait, this isn't making me happy. I've just been doing what people have been telling me to do. And I think that now that I'm older, I realize the blessing in the fact that I couldn't just fit in. Like I didn't really have that option to just fit in and keep it going. I had to figure it out myself, which is good.
I always think about I used to hear like my mom and her girlfriend saying like, oh, they don't pay my bills, talking about somebody like having something to do with like, oh, they don't pay my bills. Right. And I remember those women saying that and never know. I felt like I would be like, well, girl, I don't think you know what it means when you say that, because like you're not letting this go. Right. You still talk about it. You going on and on about it. It's the topic of stories. It's all rent free. Like, but when somebody don't pay my bills, again, I don't know them. I'm like, oh, that's crazy.
Right. We've had some really great comments too. Isabel said that she loves tattoos. She has about 6. And she said it's super important that tattoos have meanings. Amy has 8 tattoos. Oh, Anne will be in the area this weekend, so she might need to come see you. You should.
Hey, what girl? What up, Amy?
Get a simple tattoo for your birthday.
Yes.
A little bottle of hate. I liked that as well. That was good. No, but I mean, I just feel like part of why I wanted to talk to you is because I think that art is just something that is recognized, but also so under recognized in our community. You know, like we know it, but like we're so talented. Like I love seeing art anyways, but especially like Black art and Black artists. And I don't think that we really get the recognition at the level that we should. And I don't think it gets encouraged at the level it should. And I also don't think that it gets shown at an expanded level, right? Because it's not just art, it's tattoos, graffiti. I love graffiti art. I love going to new cities and seeing graffiti art on buildings and stuff. Like it's phenomenal to me that people do that with a spray can, like mind blowing.
I love graffiti too.
But I love that, like we mentioned before, that it's a form of being creative, but also a form of just getting out of your head and doing other things. Now you mentioned you still use your art for yourself to chill and decompress, but like what else do you do? Like when you need to have some self-care, when you need to get out of things and just calm your mind, what else do you do?
Okay. I watch really old TV shows, like really old ones. So recently I've been watching a lot of Matlock.
Okay.
I watch Murder, She Wrote.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's this old TV show called Hunter. I also watch that. It's a cop drama. Mm-hmm. I watched Cosby Show. I watched Golden Girls. I watched Different World. I watch the same TV shows over and over again. Friends. I watch the same ones over and over again because they're like no trauma TV.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the cases that happen in Matlock are not rehashing anything in my emotions.
Yes. Yes.
Like the things that happen on Hunter are not making me be like, oh no, the acting is like acting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, I don't feel like any about it is real. So I just zone out. I turn that on. I'll sit there and watch it for hours, or I'll sit there and draw because I've probably seen the episode 8 times. Mm-hmm. But it's really how I just veg out. Yeah. And I watch TV. And then I smoke a little bit.
Yes. I love the chillness. I'm recently addicted to K-dramas. I started them because I wanted something to get me off of my phone. So I was like, oh, I have to watch the subtitles. So I'll watch like a couple hours and I have to put down my phone. It's become a whole thing. 2 years later, it's all I do with my life now. But it's so fun because like you mentioned, there's just like, especially because there's so much going on in the world and I'm very empathetic. And sometimes I just want to block it off because it's too much. So like even shows that I love, I don't necessarily want to talk about like racism and gender issue and sexuality. Like it's good stuff, but I need a break. So I want to talk about like people time traveling and like being in love with the alien and like just silly things.
Same. Yeah. Oh my God. watch Formation. Is that the name of the show? Formation?
Morning.
Foundation. I don't know why
Okay.
I want to mix everything with Beyonce. It's called Foundation and it's on Apple TV. Love it.
Okay. I'll
Love
check it out. I'll check it
it.
out.
Two
I
black
love it.
the main character is two black girls.
Ooh, nice. Nice. I'll check it out. Well, I can't thank you enough for joining me today. It's been so good talking to you. I've been following you for a while on Instagram, so I'm glad that we got to chat. Now you have your shop with is Push on here in Wilmington, and then you also have an event coming up, right?
Oh, we're having a meet and greet on February 24th at 7 o'clock from 7 to 10. And we're hoping to get a bunch of new faces. And then we also want new faces to bring new faces with them because we just want to show people like this is a comfortable space. I know that tattoo shops get a lot of ideas about like how the people inside of the tattoo shop are, but they don't usually learn how we actually are until they come inside here. So I'm inviting people in. I used to be super closed off about my space and protective about all the things that was going on inside the shop because it's a safe space for so many people. But I feel like more people are starting to have a similar energy that we have and not caring about people's sexuality, not caring about people's color. Do they work together? Do they work together well? We want to create a full, inclusive, like diverse environment. So we want a full, inclusive, diverse group of people to come visit us, come see. We got a lot of new apartments in our city, and a lot of people don't even know that we're here, even though they're 2 blocks away because they're so busy in their lives.
Yep. Yep.
They drive past stuff, and then when you tell them that your shop is a block away from them, they're like, "Wait, what?"
They walk by it every day and never saw it.
You live on 5th Street, I live on 3rd Street. It is impossible for you to get from your house and not pass my business. But people do it. So we want to make sure that we're reaching out to as many people, as many ways as we can to invite them here. It will be food, drinks, and music. And then we can talk about tattoos. If you don't drink, maybe you might be able to get a little small tattoo. It's up to you. We just want to hang out for like 3 hours and just kick it. So if anybody wants to come on down, come on down.
Come on down. I love that. I love that. Well, thank you again so much for joining, and thank you to all of you who are watching. This will be saved on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, and hopefully you'll come back again next Thursday. I have Melissa from Your Vish podcast. We're going to talk about reality TV because people are, they love it, but love it a little too much, if you know what I mean. And so she's a therapist and breaks it all down through reality TV. So join us next week for that. Thank you again so much, Oba, for joining us. Follow him if you aren't. Seriously, his Instagram, it's beautiful. And thank you, everybody, and have a great evening.
Good night, guys.